Welcome back to the deep dive.
Yeah.
You've handed us what has to be the most ambitious and, frankly, forensic stack of sources we have ever encountered for a deep dive.
Oh, absolutely.
We're not just talking about watching an anime here. We're talking about dissecting a fictional universe with, the seriousness of literary scholars.
That's right. Today, we are immersing ourselves in the world of Inazuma 11, a universe where, the laws of physics are merely suggestions, and the power of friendship fuels actual fireballs and ice dragons.
It's incredible.
And our source material today is just a testament to fan dedication. It's blending detailed character psychology, plot hole forensics, and some genuinely wild crossover fan theories.
And what immediately stood out to me when looking at all this wasn't just the sheer volume, but the global analytical reach. We've pulled insights from these comprehensive English language fan analyses, but also alongside deep dive transcripts that originated from the Hebrew language community.
Which just highlights that this kind of complex narrative analysis truly knows no geographic or, linguistic.
Exactly.
It really reveals how fans worldwide prioritize structure, character consistency, and thematic mess. Our mission today is kind of a shortcut for you.
Yeah.
To abstract the surprising nuggets of insight from these passionate observers, the things that, only a fan base obsessed with detail would ever uncover.
Like finding out which Hogwarts houses dominate the world of international youth soccer.
You know it.
Okay, let's unpack this immediately. I think we should set the tone with what I think is the most surprising and arguably the most fun section first.
Let's do it.
We're launching into the impossible. Section 1, the impossible crossover.
Yes.
We're talking about the original Inazuma Japan team, led by Captain Mark Evans, going head-to-head against the established powers of the Teen Titan and the absurd gadgets of the kids next door.
It is such an ambitious concept. Because it pits pure kinetic, soccer-based energy against actual verifiable superpowers and organized high-tech military plans.
The core conflict is immediately high stake. It's can Hasatsu technique, those incredible reality-bending special moves, can they actually compete with, say, Cyborg's sonic cannon or Starfire's energy blasts?
It's a huge question.
And the sources didn't shy away from this impossible conflict at all. They went straight for the strategic matchups.
They did.
The fan who submitted this was really focused on that original Inazuma Japan lineup, assuming they're, fully powered up and coached by people like Coach Travis.
Right, at their peak.
But the conflict immediately starts right at the top, with leadership dynamics.
Indeed. The analysis immediately gravitated toward Jude Sharp, the tactical genius.
Of course.
It suggested he should lead the IE squad. And this makes sense, right? He mirrors the strategic roles of both Robin, the tactical leader of the Teen Titans, and Number One, the military-style planner for the KN.
His cool logic seems like the perfect counterpoint.
It does.
Jude is the logical choice, but that's exactly where the source analysis posed a brilliant counter. They asked, would Mark Evans's signature, almost nonsensical optimism, and his sheer refusal to give up, wouldn't that provide a more interesting personality clash against Robin's tactical, often cynical approach?
Oh, it absolutely would. 100%. If the goal is narrative drama and not just a clean strategic contest, Mark is the superior leader to watch. Robin relies on data, on prep time, on logic. Mark relies on pure passion and the belief that if he practices a move 1,000,000 times, he can stop literally any attack, regardless of his power level.
That unpredictable enthusiasm would throw Robin completely off his game.
Completely off balance. It becomes this fundamental clash of philosophies, pure logic versus pure...
And if we dig into the tactical side of it, Hasatsu techniques versus organized strategy, this clash becomes even more profound.
How so?
Well, Robin, or Number One, they can predict a formation or a standard attack.
Right.
But when a goalkeeper morphs into a giant literal hand of light, or a striker kicks a ball wrapped in a mythological beast,
It's all planning.
it completely breaks down. That unpredictability is Inazuma Eleven's secret weapon.
Exactly. The source material highlights that the entire premise of Inazuma 11 is that emotional drive and raw willpower manifest physically.
Right?
Number One's military strategy is designed to predict human behavior and technology. He has no framework for predicting a move that is driven purely by Mark Evans's unshakable belief.
So the most effective strategy against them wouldn't be tactical?
No, it would have to be purely aggressive psychological warfare, not logical planning.
Let's move to the powerhouses then. The listeners suggested Hurley Kane, or Tsunami, should be the IE counterpart to Cyborg and Number 4.
Which, on the surface, makes some sense. Tsunami is undeniably strong, he's laid back, powerful.
But the analysis quickly pivoted away from him.
It did, noting that he kind of lacks the emotional weight needed for that true powerhouse role. Cyborg is defined by his struggle with humanity versus technology. Number 4, while he's impulsive, has a very specific emotional anchor. Tsunami is often just too collected, too aloof to provide that kind of depth.
So here's where the suggested replacement brings in that necessary complexity. Kevin Dragonfly.
Yes, Kevin's emotional journey makes him a much, much better mirror for Cyborg.
Tell me more about that.
Well, Kevin is fiercely loyal, but his passion often just spills over into impulsiveness and frustration. His moments of vulnerability, his initial struggles, his injury, his need to always prove himself, that all mirrors Cyborg's internal conflict over his mechanics.
So they both carry a kind of emotional chip on their shoulder.
Precisely. And that defines their strength rather than just raw.
Right. That distinction, strength rooted in emotional struggle versus just physical capability, is so key to the depth of a crossover like that.
It really is.
And speaking of depth, the fan base made a genuinely progressive choice when considering the roles for Raven number 5.
This was my favorite part. The analysis suggested pairing Kevin or even Caleb Stonewall with Raven in number 5, fully disregarding the gender.
Which shows a real analytical maturity in the fan. They are focusing purely on the character's essence.
Right, on Raven's complex emotional containment and her occasional dark power, or number 5's smooth, resourceful, and often overlooked intelligence.
They realize that Caleb, with his cunning, his strategic mind, and that complicated past rooted in abandonment and trust issues, he shares a thematic DNA with Raven's need for emotional control.
It's a thematic match, not a superficial one.
And it proves that for this level of deep dive analysis, the character's psychological framework matters far more than their appearance or their gender identity.
The conflict that drives their behavior is the currency or the crossover.
Okay, now let's visualize the action, because this is the fun part.
The best part.
The source material gave us some truly epic visual matchups. I mean, think about Nathan Swift's incredible speed, the fastest guy on the field, trying to contend with the sheer unpredictability of Beast Boy's transformations.
Or the clash of pure elemental force. Sean Frost's iconic Eternal Blizzard, those intense ice technique, going up against Starfire's raw, solar-powered energy blasts.
The visual spectacle would be unbelievable. I mean, Hasatsu techniques rely on dramatic flair and emotional buildup, and they'd be facing instant, constant super.
The sources really pondered the tactical chaos of it all. Can number 1's military-style planning, which is based on containment and defined roles, truly handle the unpredictable eruption of power that is a Hasatsu move?
And the answer is
no, not in it. The only way number 1 is if he recognized the emotional trigger behind it. A tactical planner would see the moves as just random acts of force. It would take a Jude or a Caleb to recognize that the moves are deeply rooted in personality, and then find a way to exploit the psychological weak points, not the physical.
So we have this massive tactical disparity, and this leads us to the potential tone of the crossover. How do you balance the lighthearted humor of Inazuma 11 and K&D with the often serious, character-driven themes that define Teen Titan?
The sources suggested a really brilliant narrative structure to navigate this.
Which was?
It shouldn't start as a dire emergency. It should begin with a friendly exhibition match, light and fun, which allows for the inevitable comedic chaos of K&D gadgets meeting Hasatsu move.
I love that. That opening levity allows the audience to settle in.
Exact. But then, as the teams realize the true power disparities or maybe similarities between their abilities, the stakes slowly escalate.
And that reveals a deeper, more serious threat that requires all 3 teams to collaborate.
That slow burn allows the best thematic elements of all 3 worlds to shine through. You get Mark Evans' spirit-inspiring Robin, you get Cyborg's depth matching Kevin's internal turmoil, and you get the sheer, delightful madness.
That provides a perfect segue to our provocative thought for this section. What would a Hasatsu technique look like if it were genuinely combined with an actual superpower?
Oh, wow. Imagine Nathan Swift combining his speed with Beast Boy's ability to turn into, like, flying creatures?
So instead just the hurricane, he becomes a physical blur that can literally phase through defenses.
Or imagine Axel Blaze's fire tornado combined with Starfire's pure energy, creating a solar-fueled, unstoppable spiral of destruction.
The potential for the visual language of the show is just endless when you merge those powers.
It really makes you appreciate how creatively active the fan base. They're not just consuming the media, but actively trying to break it and rebuild it in new, exciting ways.
Absolutely. Okay, let's transition now, moving from the fantasy of fan crossover to a forensic breakdown of the narrative structure of the original Inazuma 11 series itself.
And how that analysis informs the intense excitement surrounding the upcoming victory.
This deep analysis of the past is crucial for understanding the franchise's future. The sources identified the core magic of the original series, that fantastic blend of over-the-top, physics-defying soccer action and genuinely dramatic, emotionally resonant storytelling that kept viewers hooked.
It's the sheer power of the underdog trope, just amplified to an absurd degree.
Totally.
The original Rayman 11 team was a group of total misfits characters like Jack Wallside, who initially couldn't even run properly, or Willie Glass, who struggled to even hit the ball.
And they were all led by Captain Mark Evans, who is basically the physical manifestation of hope.
They were constantly facing impossible challenges, from unbeatable teams to, literal aliens.
A constant, seemingly impossible hurdle was the engine of the show. The audience wasn't just watching soccer. They were watching a group of flawed characters overcome astronomical odds purely through belief and hard work.
And the defining characteristic was that spirit. They simply refused to concede no matter how dire the score.
And the sources pointed out how the new series, Victory Road, is trying to evolve this core concept through its new protagonist, Inazuma.
Right. He's carrying this immense emotional baggage, a heavy past trauma that has kept him from the sport he loves.
This instantly elevates the stakes beyond just winning a tournament.
Oh, for sure. Inazuma isn't just trying to beat opponents. He's trying to reclaim his own past and battle inner demons that have actively prevented him from even playing soccer.
That introduces a level of psychological complexity that may resonate even more profoundly with the modern, more emotionally sophisticated audience.
If the Raiders can handle that trauma portrayal effectively, the internal struggle could be far more compelling than any external match.
That's the key.
But the critical challenge, as the sources articulate, is the balancing act. Victory Road has to deliver the spectacle we expect, the dramatic camera angles, the physics-defying action, the Hasatsu technique,
while simultaneously integrating these fresh elements, the deeper thematic exploration tied to Inazama's trauma.
It's a tightrope walk. A really delicate, because they need to respect the legacy of...
If they pull back too much on the action, they lose the core fan base.
But if they don't develop the emotional depth of Inazuma, they miss the opportunity for fresh, modern stories.
So success really depends on marrying the spectacle of the pit with the profound reality of his internal life.
The audience needs that emotional payoff, but they also need the sheer, delightful absurdity of the act. It requires some expert narrative craftsmanship.
Okay, let's turn now to one of the most astonishing structural puzzles flagged by the fan analysis.
Ah, yes.
The Rayman 11 goalkeeper plot hole. This is genuinely mind-boggling when you realize
it is an incredible oversight that only a deep analysis reveals. Mark Evans was the only goalkeeper listed for over 40 episodes of a team competing for a national...
40 episodes. It's not a casual club. This is a team facing antagonists who are deliberately trying to injure them, using tactics that range from aggressive to downright dangerous.
In real soccer, even at the lowest youth level, a solid backup goalkeeper is essential.
Non-negotiable.
Injury, a red card, strategic substitution. These are non-negotiable reasons why they're the team's ultimate safety. And Rayman simply didn't have one for almost an entire season and a half of content.
The sources highlight the sheer danger of this pose. One bad challenge, one serious injury, and the game, and potentially the entire season storyline, would have been over.
It's an almost unbelievably huge flaw in the team's composition, given the stakes.
And the fan analysis cited multiple moments where untrained players had to fill in.
Usually with disastrous, if temporary, results.
So let's run the hypothetical scenario the source analysis suggested. If Mark Evans had been injured, say, during the second match against Royal Academy in episode 15, a super high-stakes game where injuries were common, who would have stepped up?
Logically, it would have been, Jack Wallside? Or maybe Kevin Dragonfly because of his intensity.
Right, but neither had the training, the reflexes, the focus.
Jack's entire defensive strategy was based on fear. If he was faced with a move like the twin boost from Jude and David, or even a basic strike from Axel, he would just...
They would have been completely exposed. Imagine an untrained Jack trying to stop a powerful Hasatsu move like Killer Shot.
The fan analysis pointed out that those early enemy Hasatsu moves were designed to be impossible for even Mark to stop. They often only yielded to a newly developed counter.
So if an untrained player was put in the net,
they'd have to rely purely on luck. The narrative oversight was huge because it placed the entire continuity of the series solely on Mark's physical health, just wildly impractical.
Luckily, this was rectified in episode 42 with the arrival of Darren LaChance.
And Darren's presence was more than just a convenience. It fundamentally addressed the practical needs of the team.
It added a layer of realism and depth.
Exactly. His arrival allowed for that classic veteran-rookie dynamic to emerge, giving Mark a worthy counterpart and ultimately making the team composition stronger and more balanced.
So the critical question raised by the sources remain: does this massive 40-episode oversight ruin the overall enjoyment?
Or does the intense focus on Mark's individual struggles just make his eventual partnership with Darren more impactful?
I think for most viewers, the momentum of the show just overrides the minor practical.
I agree, but recognizing the flaw highlights how heavily the initial narrative relied on Mark's pure individual stamina. It's a forgivable plot hole because the drama was so compelling, but it certainly shows the writers prioritizing emotional impact over realistic strategy in the early.
Let's move to another fascinating structural puzzle regarding character development timing. Tsunami Jusuke, or Hurley Kane, and his sudden, severe fear of flying.
Ah, yes, Tsunami, the confident, laid-back surfer dude, unfazed by giant waves or impossible soccer techniques.
And yet, during the long journey to Liaquat Island in Season 3, he reveals a genuine, debilitating phobia of flying.
This immediately raises the question that the fan analysis jumped on. Wait a minute, they had traveled extensively already.
Right. They flew across continents for the preliminaries, Australia, Qatar, South Korea. So why did this serious phobia only emerge now?
The fan analysis offered 3 compelling storytelling rationales. The first one relates to early narrative focus.
Okay.
In the early seasons, the priority was singular, match progression. Travel was simply a transition device. The writers couldn't spare the screen time for emotional exposition when they needed to get to the next spectacular match.
So the character details were incidental to the immediate plot.
Exactly. The second rationale suggests a deliberate narrative. The Liaquat Island arc, Season 3, is where the series really pivots toward exploring the personal lives, backstories, and vulnerability of the players.
So by withholding Tsunami's fear until this precise moment, the writers maximize the dramatic and comedic impact of.
It makes Tsunami a more complex, multi-layered character. It proves that even the most collected, unbreakable personalities have a hidden vulnerability.
But I want to challenge that for a moment, as the critique suggested. If the writers were intentionally holding back, doesn't that make Tsunami's character feel a bit, unstable? Did the sources suggest this was a retcon rather than deliberate timing?
Some sources did lean towards a soft retcon, yeah. Acknowledging that the character was developed retroactively when the writers needed a specific dynamic for the Liaquat Island travel.
Okay.
However, the stronger argument, which ultimately satisfies more fans, is the third rationale, specific flight factor.
The speculation about environmental triggers, right?
Yes. The flight to Liaquat Island was perhaps uniquely long, maybe on a less stable plane, or it encountered severe, unusual turbulence.
Something that could turn what was always a mild, manageable anxiety into a full-blown, incapacitating phobia that the writers could then use effectively.
That makes the narrative choice feel less like an error and more like intentional character building at the precise moment it served the larger story.
It's a fascinating insight into the nonlinear way character details are sometimes introduced in serialized fiction.
It proves that the timing of a character reveal is often dictated by maximum narrative effect, not strict chronological.
We are moving now into Section 3, and this is truly the analytical centerpiece of the fan submissions.
The big one.
The Inazuma 11 characters sorted into Hogwarts House. This exercise required such a deep understanding of motivation, not just action.
And the most surprising takeaway from this comprehensive sorting exercise is that the distribution heavily favored Hufflepuff and Slytherin.
Wait, I have to pause there. For a high-action sports anime, you'd expect the 2 biggest houses to be Gryffindor for courage and Ravenclaw for strategy.
Right.
But Hufflepuff and Slytherin dominate. That suggests the core values of the characters are loyalty and ambition or cunning, rather than pure heroics or...
Precise. It shifts the focus from just winning the game to how they achieve victory and the moral code they apply.
Okay, let's start with Gryffindor courage, nerve, and determination, which still holds the core heroic figures.
Naturally, Mark Evans is the icon of Gryffindor.
The ultimate Gryffindor.
Alongside Axel Blaze and Kevin Dragonfly. Also, Thor Stoutberg, whose determination to overcome his physical limitations is immense.
And the coaches, Hillman, David Evans, Travis, and Schiller, they're included for their unwavering nerve and drive, especially in the face of the overwhelming alien threat in season.
Their inclusion is solid. They embody the physical and moral courage necessary to face seemingly impossible odds. They just charge headfirst.
Now let's look at Ravenclaw, the house of wit, learning, wisdom, and strategy. This house is reserved for the true thinkers of the...
Jude Sharp is the obvious Ravenclaw. He is the strategic mastermind for both Raymond and Royal Academy, always analyzing, predicting, devising complex plays. He's intellectual combat embodied.
We also have Eric Eagle, who the fans noted is described as the Cosmo of the field, demonstrating a kind of intuitive strategic positioning that's more about wisdom than just pure speed.
But here's the surprising inclusion, Willie Glass.
Willie Glass, the character often portrayed as the most physically inept, is sorted into Ravenclaw. Why?
Because the source analysis revealed he is responsible for naming approximately 98% of the team's Hasatsu moves.
That is a staggering detail. He's the team's intellectual property department.
It's the application of wit, creativity, and expansive vocabulary that earns him the spot. It proves that Ravenclaw values intellectual contribution, even if it's entirely off.
Other key Ravenclaws include Gregory Smith, the detective, driven by relentless logic and determination to pursue villains like Ray Dark and Zulin Rice.
It's his analytical pursuit of justice that places him there.
And the fan base highlighted two powerhouses whose skill is rooted in insight. Austin Hobbs, described as a born prodigy with innate football talent, able to instinctively read and evade any defensive setup.
His talent is a form of deep, intuitive wisdom about...
And Paolo Bianchi, the Italy captain, who is a tactical genius that can perceive the location of every player on the field without even looking.
That's not just skill. That's spatial awareness married to strategy, which is pure Ravenclaw. This analysis shows that Ravenclaw in IE isn't just about reading book. It's about applying sharp analytical skills to the chaos of the pit.
Moving on to Hufflepuff, the house of loyalty, hard work, patience, and fair play. The fact that this is one of the largest houses in the Inazuma 11 sorting speaks volumes about the show's actual hidden core message.
The show consistently prioritizes friendship and loyalty above raw individual talent. Sean Frost, Rue, is a perfect...
Sorted for extreme loyalty, hard work, and the successful resolution of his devastating inner conflict concerning his deceased twin, Aiden.
The source material zeroed in on Sean's arc, his struggle to merge his own soul with Aiden's temporary spirit to find wholeness. His eventual triumph over his obsession with perfection is a testament to the hard work and commitment characteristic of Hufflepuff.
Nathan Swift is also here. While he is fast, his core definition is loyalty.
And the fan analysis meticulously detailed his brief lapse in Season 2, where he left the team due to failing ambition, which prompted Todd Ironside's temporary retirement. But his quick return just cemented his loyalty core.
Then we have the loyal core, Raymond Misfits, Jack Walside, Tim Sanders, Steve Grimm, Sam Kincaid, Todd Ironside. They are the bedrock.
They were the original 7-player squad, and their greatest contribution wasn't technique, but simply staying committed. And the sources pointed out the sheer surprise of Jack Walside, who, despite his constant fear and lack of skill, stayed until the very end.
Which proves that commitment is the ultimate Hufflepuff trait.
And we have to acknowledge the supporting cast. Hurley Consonant Tsunami for his supportive nature, Darren the Chance for his hard work becoming a reliable backup.
And crucially, the managers, Sylvia, Celia, Nellie, Tori, and Sue.
The managers are the ultimate Hufflepuff's unwavering support, hard work behind them. The source analysis even noted the subtly appreciated masculine resolve of Celia and Tori, underscoring that Hufflepuff traits include grit and resolve, not just sweetness.
This brings us to a truly heavy thematic inclusion. Rabingo, the captain of the kingdom, or Brazil. He's sorted into Hufflepuff for his hard work, but under unimaginable duress.
This is where the depth of the analysis hits hardest. Rabingo and his team were forced to represent Brazil by the villain Zulin Rice. The crushing, constant threat was that if they lost even one match, their families would be harmed or thrown onto...
That's not just pressure to win. That's a deep, agonizing loyalty driven by coercion. The physical hard work they put in was motivated by protecting their loved.
The sources also highlighted the psychological trauma of the RR program, which forced Rabingo into a trance state upon the referee's whistle, making him a mechanical player, stripping him of his autonomy.
His ultimate redemption and release from that program is a powerful Hufflepuff victory over external cruelty.
And before we pivot to Slytherin, we have to mention Julia Blaze, Axter.
Right. Sorted into Hufflepuff as the tragic figure whose accident caused by Ray Dark forced Axel to step away from soccer.
Her placement underscores the sacrifices made by the family ecosystem supporting the team. It's a beautifully nuanced sorting, recognizing that loyalty extends beyond the...
That brings us to Slytherin, the house of ambition, cunning, resourcefulness, and determination. Unsurprisingly, this list features the most strategically determined and sometimes morally dubious characters.
Caleb Stonewall is the definitive Slytherin example. His early tenure is marked by cunning manipulation, the use of the Elias Stone, and a highly ambitious drive to injure Kevin Dragonfly, forcing his temporary retirement purely out of ambition to surpass Jude Sharp.
His ambition was rooted in a personal vendetta after Jude left Royal Academy. However, the source provided important nuance.
Yes, noting his later redemption in Season 3 when he helped the Italian. His Slytherin cunning was repurposed for good, suggesting his ambivalent nature.
And one whose resourcefulness stems from his foundational trust issues and parental abandonment.
Scotty Banyan is a surprising yet deeply satisfying Slytherin inclusion. His sorting is due to his cunning and resourcefulness in using tricks, specifically frogs and toads on on others.
So Scotty is less of a cunning strategist and more just a massive pest of peeves with a frog obsession. Did the sources suggest he's even slightly more annoying than the Weasley twins?
The fan analysis compared him to a more abrasive version of the poltergeist, emphasizing his mischief is rooted in the same Slytherin resourcefulness, albeit applied negative.
And his tricky behavior, like Caleb's, is also rooted in his own abandonment, using pranks as a defense mechanism.
And then we have the undisputed architects of evil, the ultimate Slytherin. Ray Dark, Zulin Rice, and Sterling Schiller, who was Lena's father.
Their rationale is clear. Manipulation is their primary tool. Their use of vast resources, children, the Alias Stone, the Yara program, calculated psychological torture, all driven by an unquenchable thirst for power, control, or revenge.
It's the height of Slytherin ambition taken to destructive.
Other notable Slytherin mentions include Byron Love from Zeus Junior High, whose ambition for perfect divine skill drives him, Teague Torres, the cunning Argentina captain, and Xavier Foster.
Xavier Foster is interesting because the fan analysis views him as being more normal and human than his quote-unquote alien teammate, which points to a more grounded human ambition compared to the truly malicious antagonist.
The sources also provided a longer list, including Jim Wraith and Edgar Pertinus, the England captain, all characters who display ambition, resourcefulness, or cunning method.
The key takeaway from the whole sorting is that this fandom recognizes that a character's defining trait isn't always their outward ability, but their core motivation, be it loyalty, strategy, courage, or ambition. It's forensic character.
Okay, we've covered the crossovers and the profound plot analysis. Let's move into section 4. The meta-narrative. This focuses on global translation issues, the specific fan anxiety around dubbing, and legacy concerns, particularly those insights derived from the Hebrew language source.
The first glaring meta-issue highlighted is the confusion surrounding the character Miles, specifically regarding gender. The fan sources express significant frustration that Miles, who was originally unambiguously male, was treated as female in some dubbed or trans.
And the core inconsistency is what frustrates the fan base the most. The analysis points out that the show features many effeminate or feminine-looking male characters like Nathan Swift or Byron Love, who consistently retain their male designation across all international dubs.
So why was Miles?
Exactly. This decision is confusing because it suggests the local dubbing director or translator took an unnecessary liberty, potentially due to appearance alone, which goes against the established consistency of the original character.
It highlights a recurring issue in cross-cultural adaptation, where consistency is sacrificed for what a translator perceives as fitting a stereotype.
Speaking of consistency and emotional impact, let's talk about the fan anxiety surrounding voice actor continuity, particularly for the upcoming Inazuma 11 season. This is clearly a source of deep, genuine fan trauma.
It absolutely is, and the fan community is holding its breath. The source material explained that VA replacement, even for minor characters, is seen as emotional.
They said it's specific, traumatic historical example, like major voice cast replacements in series like Beyblade and Ben 10,
where the sonic texture of the show was fundamentally altered, leading to emotional distress among longtime followers. For this fandom, the voice character.
The anxiety is heightened because the status of so many core defining voices. They know Marin Arnovitz, who voices Nathan, is confirmed to return. What about the rest?
The core voices they are desperately hoping to hear again include Ethan Greenberg, Mark Evans, Leor Hakon, Kevin Dragonfly, Tomer Levy, Todd Ironside Bob, Jonathan Megan, Sharp Xavier Caleb.
These voices define their connection to the character.
The fan sentiment is that if you change the voice, fundamentally change the character's emotional resonance. A voice change for a major character like Mark Evans would feel like a betrayal of portrayal.
A massive disruption to their consumption experience.
And the depth of their attachment is staggering. They even had specific, granular dubbing preference criticism, often contrasting specific Hebrew VAs against.
Yes, the fan analysis explicitly disliked the VA chosen for Darren LeChan, especially when compared directly to the VA for Kevin Dragonfly, who was universally praised as excellent.
And they noted a specific, highly detailed preference for Sapira Darman's VA performance for Julia Blake over Eden Gamliel's, who simultaneously voiced Julie and Nell.
These granular details show that they are incredibly attuned to the vocal cast quality, demonstrating that the sonic texture matters immensely, even down to which VA voices which background.
This level of detail leads directly into a truly fascinating piece of fan curiosity transcript, the Megan brothers' observation.
This is a perfect example of deep-cut trivia becoming rich analytical discovery. Jonathan Megan voiced multiple key roles, Jude, Xavier, Caleb, across 3 original seasons and 3 sequels.
Yet his brother, Daniel Megan, has never voiced a character in Inazuma.
And this perplexes the fanbase. They impose a sense of creative symmetry on the voice acting cast. They noted that when one brother is so deeply embedded in a franchise, they expect the other, if also a known VA, to be included.
They cited other examples in the industry where family members or creative partners often share voice roles. This isn't just trivia. It speaks to a deep desire for continuity and completeness within the Inazuma 11 voice acting community.
They treat the dubbing cast as an extended, interconnected family unit, and any perceived lack of inclusion, even for a relative, is noticed and questioned.
It reveals just how closely they follow the careers of the dubbing artists, integrating them as personalities and components central to the overall Inazuma 11 universe experience.
This has been an incredibly rich deep dive, truly demonstrating the high analytical level of this fandom, moving from ambitious fan fiction to forensic plot analysis and deeply personal linguistic observation.
To summarize our journey, we explored the ambitious crossover concept, confirming that while Jude Sharp is the tactical choice to lead Inazuma Japan, Mark Evans offers the superior, personality-driven clash against Robin.
We recognize the need to value psychological over rigid gender matching when positioning complex characters like Kevin Dragonfly and Caleb Stone.
We delved into the narrative structure, understanding that Victory Road's success relies heavily on blending the spectacle of the Hasatsu technique with the emotional complexity of the protagonist, Unsasami, and his inner.
We thoroughly analyzed and ultimately forgave the 40-episode goalkeeper plot hole, understanding it was a narrative choice that focused initial drama exclusively on Mark's stamina before being skillfully rectified by Darren's introduction.
And of course, the comprehensive Hogwarts sorting provided incredible insight into character motivation, from Gryffindor's courage and Ravenclaw's analytical strategy to Hufflepuff's profound loyalty, exemplified by the tragic coercion faced by
and Slytherin's cunning ambition, from Ray Dark's manipulation to Caleb Stonewall's complex resource.
Finally, the meta-narrative highlighted the fan trauma surrounding VA continuity, the desperate need for those key voices to return for the new, and the subtle inconsistencies in translation, like the Miles gender swap, proving that this fandom is paying attention to every single minute.
It has been a truly thorough and expansive analysis of the source material. You've given us an incredible amount to think about.
So what does all this deep character analysis mean for the future of the franchise? We leave you with one final provocative thought that builds on the foundation laid by all this discussion.
Considering the high ambition of the new Victory Road series and its deliberate focus on Unsasami's past trauma and the battles against his inner demon, how will the writers handle his eventual conflict resolution?
Will his personal victory against inner darkness be presented as a more compelling and profound emotional triumph than the pure soccer victory achieved by Mark Evans?
That is the core question for the next generation.
When the narrative places the battle within, above the battle on the pitch, does the emotional payoff for the audience become exponentially greater?
Something to ponder as you await Unsasami's debut. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Until next time.